is back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes!
The center back, Jacob Glesnes, is going for it.
Oh my God! What a goal! And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3-2.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And 3 points on the road, we would take that every single day, won't we, ladies and gentlemen? But yeah, well, week 3 now, this upcoming week for MLS, and man, this season just seems like it's off to a flying start already, and I don't know about you guys, I was nervous about that game against Montreal, especially seeing that the game was going to be played on AstroTurf. I don't know, I didn't think the Philadelphia Union were going to get a win, a point I would take. But at the end of the day, I had the Philadelphia Union losing this game. And I'm so glad to be proven wrong. I'm glad to see the Philadelphia Union came out here with a fighting spirit in a hostile environment. But let's never play a game again on a field like that. I know I saw people on social media joking and saying that they prefer New York City's field over Montreal's field. And no, I'm kind of with those fans, right? Yeah, we all know that Yankee Stadium's small and everything, but at least the game's played on actual grass as opposed to playing on AstroTurf where, you know, if you fall and everything, you're hitting concrete. And when Andre Blake would go up and grab the ball and fall down or go and make a save and then he would hit the ground and everything, I felt so bad for him. Like, man, that cannot feel good. Or seeing Julian Carranza, Daniel Gaza getting clobbered onto the AstroTurf. I mean... Those guys after that game, I'm sure they were all bruised and everything, and it's not an enjoyable situation to play on, I'm sure. And I was a little bit surprised, too, seeing that those guys were playing with studs and everything. I thought maybe they would play with, you know, turf shoes, but it looked like most of those guys had on actual cleats with studs, so... but we're not here to talk about what the players were and weren't wearing. We're here to talk about, obviously, the big 3 points that the Philadelphia Union picked up. And there's, like, I feel bad, too, because you guys, if you guys were listening to the podcast last year, you guys would know that I would go ahead and play a news segment, and I'd go and talk about the game. But I feel like we still don't have a ton of news to talk about for MLS. I'll bring up 2 points and everything. They're going to be super fast and everything, I'm sure. We'll get into what I saw on the 3 goals that were scored in yesterday's game. We'll go ahead and talk about my 3 stars for the Philadelphia Union. We'll talk about Blunder of the Week. And Blunder of the Week, as you guys know, that segment, I joke around and everything, but Blunder of the Week, once we get to it near the end of the podcast, I mean, it's definitely not a joke. It's probably going to be the blunder of the whole year. I know I was talking to my buddy Kyle. He's like, yeah, the blunder of the decade. So I don't want to spoil that, but you guys, if you guys have been paying attention to the news the last 24 hours in the soccer world, you guys are probably aware of what I am talking about. But regardless, let's just get into the 2 points I want to bring up in regards to MLS news. All right, so the 2 points I want to bring up are the San Jose versus Columbus Crew game and the Cincinnati versus DC United game. So I guess I'll go ahead and talk about the DC United and Cincinnati game, which literally Cincinnati loses this game on a stoppage time penalty in the 96th minute. Ola Kamara scores a penalty to put DC United up 1-0. Cincinnati in this game score a goal with Vasquez, but it's ruled for offsides. Badgie, the striker they got from Colorado, he played good, I thought, on the day. Vasquez even played good, in my opinion, too. But, you know, it's been the history of Cincinnati ever since they've joined MLS and they can't win on the road. They can't win at home. And you guys might remember last season, Jim Curtin said that Cincinnati have the best stadium in all of MLS. And maybe some of you guys feel bad. Maybe some of you guys don't feel bad. But I do feel bad for those Cincinnati fans where you're used to seeing the team be successful in the USL and get a brand new stadium. You have U.S. men's national team games played at your stadium because your stadium's so well done. But it seems like everybody but Cincinnati can get a win in their stadium. And just going ahead and looking at the shots, I mean, Cincinnati outshot DC United 16-10, had more shots on target, 6. Bill Hamid made 6 saves, played excellent for DC United. And the way that Cincinnati are trying to play, they're trying to play like the Philadelphia Union in the diamond formation. And I guess if you are a Cincinnati fan, the one thing you can say is, minus the Austin game, throughout preseason, the team looked okay when they played against Philadelphia Union. Yeah, it's preseason, so, do with that as you will. We saw New York Red Bulls get absolutely blown out in their last game in preseason, and now they're 2-0, beating San Jose the first week, and then they go up to Toronto and beat Toronto 4-1 with a Lewis Morgan hat trick. Who had New York Red Bulls getting off to that hot of a start, especially 2 road wins? I sure as hell didn't. Maybe you guys did, maybe you guys didn't, but New York Red Bulls, are they going to be good? Maybe they will. But we're not talking about Red Bulls, we're talking about Cincinnati. And yeah, Cincinnati just, I don't know. I mean, like, talking with the guys, Brad from Cincinnati Soccer Talk, when we were talking about these two teams, Philadelphia Union and Cincinnati last season, like, I was really, really sure that Pat Noonan was going to become the new head coach. We knew that Chris Albright had accepted the GM role. And what I said is, you got to give these guys time. You got to give these guys time. And, like, Brad was just saying, like, how much time do you want us to have? Like, ever since we've got into MLS, that's all we've been told by the front office. Just give us time, be patient. It's going to work out. And it's been anything but that. They just cannot get results, no matter who's the coach, no matter who's the GM. And I do think Cincinnati will pull things around eventually. Like I talked about in my season preview episode, Chris Albright, when he got there, he was taking on a ton of bad contracts on Cincinnati. So it's going to take him a year, 2 years to get rid of most of those contracts to bring in his guys. He did well, I thought, in the offseason, bringing in MLS veteran players that have MLS experience. And I think eventually it will pay off. But, you're kind of handicapped with paying millions of dollars for some of these players that should not be on Cincinnati, probably shouldn't be in MLS. And, Cincinnati fans are just going to have to struggle, and watching them just create chance after chance against DC United and not be able to get the ball in the back of the net. I mean, it's got to be so disheartening. And losing the game on a last-second penalty because DC United had a set piece. Jeff Cameron jumps up to block the ball hits him on his hand, and the referee at first didn't say anything about it, even though DC United players were contesting for a penalty, and FC Cincinnati looked to go on the counterattack, and eventually the ball goes out of play, the game stops, they go to VAR, and they say, yep, we missed this, it was a penalty, but just terrible. You see your team create chance after chance, and you can't find the back of the net, and you lose on a penalty. I mean, that's one of the worst ways, in my opinion, to lose a game, when you dominate and you can't put the ball in the back of the net. But, thank goodness we're not Cincinnati fans, right? And then the next game was San Jose Earthquake versus Columbus Crew, and this is a game that Jamiro Monteiro got a red card in the 33rd minute. At first, it was a yellow card, but then they went to VAR and changed it to a red card because of Monteiro's challenger in Darlington Nagbe. Monteiro went to win the ball, and he hits Darlington Nagbe up high and everything. Doesn't get the ball. Studs first into his leg. And yeah, I think Jamiro is a little bit hard done getting a red card. But you can see why it was a red card. He doesn't get the ball. And more times than not, when you go up with studs flying, you're going to get a red card. And that's exactly what happened with Jamiro Monteiro. And San Jose gets a penalty early in this game. In the 9th minute, they convert it 1-0. Lucas Zelarayan scored 2 goals in this game from a free kick. And then they get a goal from Jalsi Zardes in the 68th minute. They go up 3-1. And then the last 10, 12 minutes of this game, San Jose score 2 goals from ex-Chicago Fire center back Francisco Calvo. One on a set piece, beautiful ball whipped in. And then the second one was on a corner kick. The last play of the game, the goalie comes up and everything, and he beats the defender to the ball and ties this game up 3-3 for San Jose. This is something that I think Philadelphia Union fans, if you have the means, if you can go and rewatch this game, if you have ESPN Plus, definitely go ahead and get a feel for how San Jose play. And hopefully this week I can get somebody from San Jose on the podcast to, talk about the huge loss of their center back, Nathan, who they lost last week against New York Red Bull. They lose Jamiro Montero against us because of the red card. So it will be interesting to see what hopefully I can get somebody to say about San Jose, just talk about, their season so far. But yeah, I think this is a game that Philadelphia Union fans should definitely go ahead and check out, especially with Columbus coming up here, I know, in a couple weeks too. So you can go ahead and see 2 teams that the Philadelphia Union have coming up soon. But there's no reason why Columbus should have lost this game when they were 3-1 up on the road. Yeah, it's on the road, but it's not like the stadium was sold out for San Jose. It's not like it was a hostile environment, in my opinion. But Columbus Crew blew this game late, and they're a team under Caleb Porter the last couple of seasons who have been pretty well defensively with Josh Williams and Mensah, but on 2 set pieces, on a corner kick and a free kick, they lose the mark and they get this game tied up. And Columbus fans are probably kicking themselves, but San Jose fans, after a terrible performance against New York Red Bulls last week, they get a point at home, back-to-back games at home. They probably feel like they should have won at least one of those games, but at least San Jose fans can feel like there was some fight in their team to see them come back. And that's pretty much all the MLS news that I want to talk about. If there's anything else that I missed that I probably should have brought up, I'm sorry about that. But let's go ahead and talk about the Montreal versus Philadelphia Union game, which ended 2-1 for the Philadelphia Union. And you got to love it, right? A come-from-behind victory. Happy to be wrong on my season predictions where I had this game as a loss for the Union. And people asked me even after the game or before this game, they were like, oh, how are you feeling? I'm like, oh, this is 100% going to be a Montreal win. We're playing on AstroTurf. We're playing away. We don't typically play well away. Montreal looked good in their first game at home in CCL play. This is their home opener. The fans are going to be up for it. And Montreal go up, as we know, early 1-0 in this game, but the Philadelphia Union get 2 goals. And I'll talk about those goals and everything here in a minute. But you go ahead and look at last season. The Union were 0-6-8 when they conceded first. And then they were 0-5-2 when they trailed going into the half. And to see this team trail at halftime, where we've seen them come from behind last year and tie the game up only twice last season, love the fight and energy from this team. And as soon as the second half started, Mihailovic fouls Carranza, dribbles past the whole midfield and the 2 center backs without anyone fouling him, putting a body on him. And he puts the ball in the back of the net to put Montreal up 2-0. And I think if that goal would have stood, that would have been such a deflating goal for the Philadelphia Union to see them, okay, look, we're only going into halftime down by 1 goal. Yeah, we could have been tied going into half, but we're down by 1 goal. At least it's not 2 goals. And as soon as the second half starts, they could have been down. And I'm not sure why they didn't call a foul straight away on this play. I thought it was pretty clear and obvious, but that's why we have VAR, and luckily they saw the foul as clear and obvious when they went and looked at the screen, and they were able to turn it around. They went over to the monitor and actually changed that pretty fast too. So, I'm happy that we have the VAR system in MLS that we have compared to the one in the Premier League, because it seems like they're always getting it wrong week in and week out in the Premier League. And yeah, we might complain about the referee not having a look at VAR. We might complain about VAR getting it wrong at times, but I thought VAR was used correctly in this game for the Philadelphia Union. And Montreal fans probably feel hard done, but at the end of the day, it was the right call. I mean, Mihailovic clearly fouled Julian Carranza. Not sure how that wasn't called right away, like I said. But I think maybe the thinking was, in case anything happens here, we can go ahead and look at the monitor and overturn this if we have to. And luckily they did for the Philadelphia Union's case. And I think another thing too is like once the Union saw that goal was called back and everything, I think that was a wake-up call that this team needed to see them start that slow. Like that is the worst possible time, in my opinion, to start a match after the restart and give up a goal. But then after that goal was taken away, it was probably the best 15 minutes afterwards that the Philadelphia Union played all season so far. Definitely the best 15 minutes in the game for the Philadelphia Union, where right after Montreal thought they had the second goal, a few minutes later, the Philadelphia Union get a goal. And then right after they scored the tying goal, they scored the second goal. And I don't think this was a perfect game by no means from the Union, but those 15 minutes, yeah, I mean, they played beautifully. Nice 1-2 passing. They press really well. And that's when the Philadelphia Union are at their best time and time again. You go ahead and look at Sergio Santos, Julian Carranza, Daniel Gazdag. They had a really good understanding of each other's runs and where they were going to be during this game. And you just have to go ahead and look at the chance that Julian Carranza had in the 15th minute. I put this up on my Twitter because I was just amazed with the long ball that Kai Wagner played over the top, where Julian Carranza was able to head the ball down to himself. He plays a give and go with Sergio Santos and sets him up with a shot on target. But, all three of those guys, Sergio, Daniel, and Julian, I thought they filled the line correctly, where Julian could have cut the ball back, slotted it into either Daniel Gazdag or Sergio Santos, but he goes ahead and has the shot, which I thought was the right decision. Breza makes a really good save. But Sergio Santos, I thought, was a little bit unlucky because he was inches away from putting this ball in the back of the net after Breza punches the ball away. Who knows if it would have been called offsides? I don't think so, but you never know. But it was a good decision from Julian Carranza to take that shot. It was a strong, powerful shot, and just to see Sergio Santos run straight onto that ball, and eventually it falls to Leon Flock, who plays in a cross, and nothing comes of it. But just the understanding between Sergio, Daniel, and Julian was excellent in this game. And Daniel Gazdag was asked about, the understanding between those three guys, and he said they had a strong preseason. Even Corey Burke, he said. All four of those guys had a strong preseason. They really had a good understanding. And I think we all got a glimpse of that in this game. Daniel Gazdag said, yeah, at home you guys could see the chemistry between me and Julian Carranza, and the more and more we all play together, the better and better we're going to get. And I think this game, yeah, like I said, it wasn't the most perfect game for the Philadelphia Union, but 15 minutes, those 15 minutes after the goal got called back for Montreal, that's a glimpse of, I think, how this season's going to go for the Philadelphia Union, where, we've seen time and time again, the Philadelphia Union concede a goal, and then they come right back and are causing trouble for the opposition right away, or go ahead and score a goal, and then they're already back into the opponent's half again, trying to get the second goal. So those 15 minutes I was very, very impressed with, and I'm happy with the way that Julian Carranza played, even though he got a red card in this game. And that was tough because you go ahead and look. He worked his socks off defensively. He drew four fouls in this game. And when you're already on a yellow card, any challenge that you make, the referee is going to look at that very carefully. You already have a lot of eyes on you because Montreal are going to try to make you be over-aggressive, over-commit, and get that red card for you. And we saw Julian Carranza actually try to do this a couple times in the first half, where earlier on in the game, Montreal had a couple yellow cards, and Julian Carranza was backing into them, trying to draw contact to get them sent off. And, it worked against Julian Carranza in the second half, where Montreal got fouled by Carranza, and they said, here's your second yellow, you're off. So, things like that are going to happen. I don't think Julian Carranza went out there trying to hurt anybody. I don't think he went out there trying to get a red card. I think it was soft, but when you're already on a yellow card, any contact you make, the referee's going to think about it for a second, and he decided, it was enough to warrant a second yellow card, and he was off. And I think another player for me that had a really good game was Nate Harriel. And when I go over my three best players for the Union a little bit later in one of the other segments, it was really hard for me to leave Nate off of that list. But, I think he did enough in this game to warrant the start against San Jose at home. I thought he was excellent in the air. He was 6-on-7 on his aerial duels, something we saw against New York City in the playoffs where he almost scored on a header. Nate Harriel's not one of the tallest guys, but he's just really good at timing his jumps. He's really good at getting air when he lifts his feet off the ground, and he's very, very athletic. And I think if fans haven't noticed that yet, you guys are really, really sleeping on this guy. I mean, when he was coming up through the academy, he was known to have pace. He loved going forward, but every time he's had the starter, every time he's come off the bench, he's looked really well defensively, and I think he definitely needs to get the start against San Jose, and you guys are probably thinking the same thing too. In my opinion, it's now Nate Harriel's spot to lose. Yeah, and Ali said after the game that the more these two guys play together, the better understanding there's going to be between him and Nate. And I think it's important not only in soccer, but in all sports where you see players making partnerships with each other on the field. The more these guys play together, they're going to understand each other's runs, when to cover, what space to run into. This team's going to be really good. And I mean, look, we're 2 games in, and it's really, really hard not to overhype what we're seeing out of this team. But I really do think it's going to be the best Union team we've ever seen. And we say it all the time, that the reason it's so easy to cheer for these guys is because they're so likable. They're so easy to relate to. They play for each other. They play for the fans. And it's a huge credit to Ernst Tanner for finding these kind of characters. And again, Ali said after the game that him and Jacob Glesnes talked to Mikael in Swedish and Norwegian to help him transition easier to this team. So going out of the way to make him feel comfortable, to feel like, look, we know we all play with each other in preseason. We've all been with each other for the last couple of years. We know how we want to play. But look, we want to help you get used to playing with us. We know that you wanted to be here as soon as the Philadelphia Union signed you. You couldn't because of visa issues. But look, we're trying to make you a part of this team as fast as possible, and you love seeing Jacob and Ali Bedoya going out of the way. But I was talking about Nate Harriel getting the start, and I do want to go ahead and play what Jim Curtin had to say, what went into that decision between Nate starting over Olivier Bizot.
Yeah, performance. So, look, the competition was good in preseason. I thought Nathan was close. A close decision goes against them in week 1, where we go with Olivier. I gave him the benefit of the doubt based on, the beginning of last year. And then, overall, I don't think it was Olivier's best. I think he knows that. And again, when he's playing at his max, he's the best right back in the league. So again, it's not just a message for Olivier, but a message for the entire group that, if you don't perform to your max, we'll make changes. And that's the luxury we have with this team where we have a deep squad. I think it's early in the year. I know Olivier will bounce back from it and have a great season for us. But I thought it was important to send a message to the entire group, that, starting spots are going to be earned week in and week out, on the field in the games in the 90 minutes during the week of training. So I think, that message was heard by everyone and understood. And I think Nathan stepped in and did a good job. Needs to be said too. Olivier came into the game with a good mentality, a good attitude, and helped us. So this is the way it goes. Like I said, if I'm doing my job, Olivier does his side of things too. He can play in League One in France. I've said that to you guys 100 times. It just has to be that he brings it every day.
Yeah, look, what have we been asking for as Philadelphia Union fans the last couple seasons is a deep squad. We haven't had the luxury of having that, but you look, the 4 strikers we have are probably good enough to play any place else in MLS. At least 3 out of 4 of them, in my opinion, are good enough to play anywhere else. But week in, week out, we know that Mikael's, once he gets caught up to speed, he's probably going to be a lock in this team. Andre Blake's obviously a lock. Kai Wagner, I would say, is a lock. Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott are locks. And Daniel Gazdag, I want to say, is maybe a lock. But everybody else on this team, who do you feel like's a lock to start week in, week out? And to hear Jim say, look, you got to earn your starting spot in practice and games. And, it's going to be a week in, week out decision per game basis. And I love to hear that. And to hear Jim say, look, the players up for that, they understand that, and trying to send a message early on. Look, it doesn't matter what you did last season. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past for this team. There are so many people on this roster that are good enough to start week in, week out. And you've got to earn that in the games. You got to earn that in practice. And so competition for this team is only going to make this team better, in my opinion. And yeah, I agree 100% with Jim's call there. And I'm not really sure, though, why Bizo was the sub that came on when the Union were becoming more defensive once they got that red card. I thought it should have been Stuart Finley coming on, in my opinion, having 3 center backs on. But it looked like they were playing 5 in the back with Bizo playing as a wingback, Nate Harriel playing as the third choice center back, it looked like. Maybe it's just because he had a great day in the air. Like I told you guys, 6 out of 7 of his aerial duels won in the air. Maybe that did go into Jim Curtin's thinking that, look, this guy's playing excellent, out of his mind every time that they're sending long balls in. And, as the game progresses, actually, now that I think about it, that probably is why Jim Curtin decided to keep Nate Harriel on. And that's on me for not realizing that. And I should have asked Jim Curtin that question last night. I'm mad at myself now because that would have been a great question to ask. Did your thinking go into leaving Nate Harriel on the field as opposed to bringing on Stuart Finley because how well Nate was playing in the air? I feel like that has to be it, right? Has to be. That's on me. It would have been a great question to ask Jim last night. It's on me, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, just seeing Bizo coming on instead of Stuart Finley, I was a little bit concerned by that, especially where Bizo, again, lost his runner, lost track of where Miller was, who had a free header near the end of the game, which should have tied this game up for Montreal. Luckily, it didn't. But I don't know. I mean, Bizo loses concentration, seems like a lot more frequently than he first started with the Union. I don't know what the reasoning is, right? I don't know. Does anybody know if you're allowed to use Adderall in MLS? Because being a Baltimore Orioles fan, when Chris Davis, former Baltimore Oriole, was at his best, it's because he was on Adderall. That helped him focus on the ball a lot more, just focus on his game a lot more than when MLB said, yeah, you can't take this anymore. It's banned or you're going to get suspended and everything. So he had to get off the Adderall. And then teams started playing the shift against Chris Davis. And yeah, Chris Davis could not hit to save his life. He was always striking out. He was always hitting the ball into the shift. And, it cost him his career in MLB. So I don't know. Is Bizo allowed to take Adderall? Maybe that could help him focus more. I don't know. It's just a guess. But, besides that, he did okay, in my opinion, Bizo. And I guess the last thing I'll say about this game is Mikael Uhre coming on. I thought he was excellent, even though he had to do a lot more running around, a lot more of the defensive work once Carranza got that second yellow card. But, you saw his pace, you saw the strength of him. He had 2 chances, one where he should have and probably should have squared the ball to Quinn Sullivan, which would have put the Union up 3-1. And you could tell because he didn't do that. He was feeling himself, and he took both of his chances really, really well. There's a guy who was not short on confidence when he came in. And I think he told Jim Curtin after the game, Jim told us, he's like, wow, there's a lot of space. I was not expecting to get this much space when we were down a man. And Jim said, yeah, there's a ton of space in MLS, especially when teams are pressing to go ahead and tie the game up to get a win. And so as the season goes on, oh man, if Mikael can bring that every single game, this guy's going to be enjoyable to watch every single week for us Philadelphia Union fans. But overall, just happy with the 3 points, happy nobody got hurt on that horrible field. And it's an absolute joke that soccer was played on that field. But, it is the beginning of March in Montreal, so it makes sense why you wouldn't have that game outside because the field's frozen, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, we don't have to play on that field again. I'm happy. Nobody got hurt. 3 points. We'll take that, right? Oh, yeah, and by the way, I was looking at this stat, and you guys can go ahead and you guys know I love stats. You guys go ahead and do what you will with this stat, but the last 2 seasons, comparing the 2 games this season and comparing last season for Daniel Gaza compared to Jameer Montero's season last season and then the 2020 season, In 48 matches, Jamiro Montero had 5 goals for the Union. And in 25 matches so far for the Union, Daniel Gazdag has 5 goals. Just looking at that, that tells me right away that Daniel Gazag's a lot more of a attacking player than Jamiro Montero is. He's a better finisher, gets himself into better positions. I think Jamiro was excellent defensively. He was excellent at taking players on one-on-one, which hurts a little bit. But, for people that are complaining, saying, oh, look, we didn't create enough chances against Montreal. We didn't create enough chances against Minnesota. And I'm sure, we'll hear fans still say throughout the season, oh, we didn't create enough chances against X team. Oh, we should have kept a hold of Jamiro Montero. Look, this is why we needed Jamiro. You weren't playing the Christmas tree formation again this season. This team's clearly better when they play in the 4-4-2 diamond. And you weren't going to play Jamiro Montero as the 10 in the 4-4-2 formation. It just wasn't going to happen. Yeah, Jamiro and Gazdag could rotate like Jamiro and Brendan Aronson did in 2020, where, they would constantly throughout the game flip-flop positions. Aronson would go to the 10, Montero would go to the 8, Aronson would go to the 8 while Montero went to the 10. Yeah, they could have done that, I think, but we didn't see it last season when we would play the 4-4-2 formation with these two guys. And I just, it's just funny to me, right? Seeing all these people hate on Daniel Gazdag, and you guys know I stick up for this guy so much on this podcast, but 5 goals in 25 matches for the Union compared to Jamiro's 48 matches for the Union with 5 goals. Now, I obviously didn't compare Jamiro Montero's 2019 numbers because I believe he had 4 goals in 2019 for the Union, which put his total to 9 goals overall for the Union. But Daniel Gazdag's 4 goals away from tying up Jamiro Montero's goals for the Philadelphia Union. So I think it for sure happens this season. And man, it's just funny listening to fans complain about Jamiro being better than Daniel Gazdag. But let's go ahead and talk about my 3 best players for the Philadelphia Union. Number 3 on the day, I thought it was Kai Wagner. Like I told you guys, it was very, very hard for me not to put Nate Harriel on this list. Nate Harriel would have been 4th on my list, but Kai Wagner I thought was a little bit better on the day. He had 2 tackles, 14 ball recoveries, 6 out of 13 completed long balls, 4 passes into the final third of the pitch, 3 interceptions, 3 clearances. Yeah, I mean, the reason I give Kai Wagner the nod over Nate Harriel is because of and just the long balls over the top that Kai Wagner was playing to Julian Carranza and Sergio Santos, and they were really creating a lot of chances for the Philadelphia Union. And I don't think Nate played bad at all. Don't take this as me saying, "Oh, Nate didn't play good," because Nate played excellent defensively. He played good and going for it. Dude was full of energy, pressing really, really hard. When he pushed up and Montreal were trying to attack down the left, he got back to his right back spot in no time. And I think, like Ali said, the more those two play together, the better understanding they're going to have and the better they play overall. Number 2 on this list, what more needs to be said about this guy? Andre Blake, 4 saves, 1 punch. Andre Blake's Andre Blake. I guess the only thing you can complain about is the goal that he gave up. It seemed like he stopped trying for the ball, but I think, when it took a deflection, it looked like the ball was going to go out of play because that's how the camera had it looking like. But, it had enough of a weird spin where it didn't go blasting out of the field and it wound up in the back of the net. So I can't blame Andre Blake. The only thing that and his distribution out of the back, his long balls weren't the best on the day. I think he completed less than 30% of his passes with long balls. So want to see Andre Blake's distribution getting a little bit better. But again, 4 saves. He controlled his box very, very well. I thought had good command of it. And Andre Blake's the second star for me. And number 1, no surprise, Daniel Gazdag. 1 key pass, 1 goal, 2 tackles, 2 recoveries. I just thought he had a really good understanding, like I said a little bit ago, between him and Sergio Santos and Julian Carranza. Daniel Gazdag was getting into all sorts of space, had so much time on the ball. And the more and more, just finding those partnerships, it's just going to make the Philadelphia Union so much better going forward. And to see him get a goal this early on for the Philadelphia Union, it's only going to improve his confidence for the rest of the season, in my opinion. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again. My new segment for the year. And I'm so happy that I was able to figure out OTS, I believe the software is, where I could go ahead and clip the goals and go ahead and not pause the podcast, even though you guys wouldn't know that I pause the podcast or not because of the way that I edit the podcast. But happy that, I was able to record all three of these goals and just click and look at the goals and explain them as I saw them. So for the first goal that Montreal scored, Lapalainen, this is what I saw. The ball started with Victor Ranyanom playing it to Johnson, who was their center back, is their center back. He came from the back into the halfway line. Nobody goes and challenges for the ball, and so he just has space to run into, and he plays the ball out to Chouanier, who then gives the ball back to Johnson, who nobody picks up Johnson, and so Johnson's able to just find more space from what he initially started into, and he plays a great splitting ball to Kone, who in the pass from Johnson's able to split Jose Martinez, takes a good first touch, sets himself up. He's way past Jack Elliott here, and Jacob Glesnes now has to come and cover for Jack Elliott getting beat. Nate Harriel's coming to close down the ball. And I thought Nate Harriel did a good job to go and close down the ball initially, but Coney's able to take a good touch, get away from Nate Harriel. He then dribbles the ball, turns himself towards goal, and now the issue on this play is not the deflection. I have no problem with the deflection. There's nothing Nate Harriel couldn't have done. The issue is, I think Jack Elliott should have closed down the ball. Ali Bedoya is coming from behind Kone, who Ali could have put a little bit more pressure on Kone, I thought, in my opinion. But Jack Elliott really needed to attack this ball. He's just standing up Kone, not attacking the ball whatsoever. And because of that, Kone is able to find Lapalainen wide open. Nate Harriel goes to close it down last second. Again, just no issues at all with Nate Harriel trying to close down this ball and everything. Takes a terrible deflection. It's nothing Nate could have done. Just I would have liked to have seen Jack Elliott shut down Coney a lot faster, not allow him time and space on the ball. Because even if Jack Elliott wouldn't have got the ball, Ali Bedoya was coming behind Coney the whole time. And because Jack Elliott doesn't shut down that ball, he's able to just take his time, find the pass for Lapalainen, plays the ball to him, and Nate Harriel knows the pass is coming. He's going to shut it down and everything, and he gets a touch on the ball. He does everything he's supposed to do. Just unfortunately, the ball took a spin and found its way in the back of the net. There's nothing Nate Harriel could have done, and I know he takes his shirt up and puts it over his head like out of frustration, but Nate shouldn't be angry at himself for that play at all. I think from the beginning that the Philadelphia Union gave Johnson way too much time and space to dribble from his defensive half into the midfield to then just keep finding his way up into the midfield and towards the net. And he was able to play a splitting pass to Kone, and Kone does well to dribble past Nate Harriel to beat Jack Elliott on pace. And just Jack Elliott should have done a better job closing down the ball, in my opinion. He does not, and Nate does his best to block the ball, and it takes a wicked deflection, and you have 1-0 right there for Montreal. Going to the second goal for the Philadelphia Union, which was the Ali Bedoya goal. I don't know, did you guys notice when between the Philadelphia Union and Montreal, both teams get the same feed? And they showed it as Leon Flock scoring the goal, but this whole play starts with the Philadelphia Union playing a long ball up to Sergio Santos. I believe it was Jacob Glesnes playing the ball up to Sergio Santos. Sergio can't get the ball. Ball falls to Johnson. Johnson plays the ball to Victor Wanyama. And Victor Wanyama touches the ball terrible pass to the right back of Montreal. Liam Flock's able to run at this ball, collect this ball, force the turnover from Victor Wanyama. Liam Flock finds Sergio Santos, who doesn't take the best touch here. It's a little bit out of control. Maybe it wasn't the best pass from Liam Flock. And so Montreal looked like they were about to get the ball back, but Sergio Santos does well to fight for the ball back. Ball falls to Daniel Gazdag, who finds Liam Flock. Liam Flock is able to find Daniel Gazdag, who finds Kai Wagner. Now, this pass that we saw from Daniel Gazdag to Kai Wagner, this is a great pass. It was a short pass, right? But what's so great about this is because Daniel Gazdag lays the ball off to Kai Wagner. Now, Kai Wagner has Victor Wanyama coming to him to close down the ball. And because of that, Wanyama leaves Daniel Gazdag, and Daniel Gazag's in a ton of space because Kone's just walking back, not closing down the ball. Torres isn't playing defense. And so Daniel Gazdag takes a great first touch towards the left pole to the left corner flag. And he's able to either just dribble that, allow the defender that's guarding Sergio Santos to come off, attack the ball, because Victor Wanyama, Torres, and Kone are all out of position. They can't get the ball unless they draw a foul. And Daniel Gazdag plays the ball to Sergio Santos, who then takes a turn to his right and is able to find Jose Martinez, who plays a great ball into Julian Carranza. Miller's holding up Julian Carranza, and maybe it was a little bit of a pull down by Miller on Carranza, but Julian's able to kick the ball away to Ali Bedoya, who then finds Sergio Santos, who does well with his strength to hold the ball up and everything, goes to turn and everything, doesn't have the ball under control, but luckily the ball falls to Daniel Gazdag. But the right back for Montreal fouls Daniel Gazdag in the box, and I think if the Philadelphia Union wouldn't have scored this goal, it for sure would have been a penalty for the Philadelphia Union. The ball is just going crazy in the box, and Sergio Santos puts enough pressure into the ball. Julian Carranza is putting pressure into the ball, which it eventually falls to Ali Bedoya, and Ali Bedoya is able to curl the ball into the bottom corner, and they go up 1-1. But just this whole play, just seeing the Philadelphia Union just press. It's how the Philadelphia Union are built. Press, 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 and they make something out of nothing. And I think we're going to see a ton of goals this season from the Philadelphia Union. To see, Sergio Santos throughout the sequence not make the best touches on this ball, but, as soon as he loses the ball, he goes ahead and fights for the ball back. And you'd love to see that from Sergio Santos. Julian Carranza, his hold-up play, I've been really impressed the last two games with him. And again, just like I was talking about, the more these guys play together, I mean, they're going to be really, really exciting to watch. And we're going to be in for a treat this season between the strikers we have and the partnerships that these guys are going to continue to build. And maybe it sounds like I'm rambling. Only my second time, guys, doing this segment. So, as the season goes on, hopefully I get better just giving my thoughts on what I see on the goals. But for the Daniel Gazdag goal, we had a long throw-in from Breza, the goalkeeper, for Montreal. He throws it out to Chouanier. As soon as the ball gets to Chouanier, he's pressed by three guys, Jack Elliott, Sergio Santos, and Julian Carranza. The ball goes out for a throw-in for the Philadelphia Union. And the Philadelphia Union have Kai Wagner taking the throw-in. Kai Wagner throws the ball backwards to Jack Elliott. They're going to build out of the back with Jack Elliott. Jack Elliott plays the ball right back to Kai Wagner, and Kai Wagner is able to play this long ball over the top, bypasses the whole midfield, all the defenders. Julian Carranza was able to make a good run off of Miller. He's into yards of space, takes an excellent chest down, takes another touch of the ball with his stomach, it looked like, and Daniel Gazdag is running freely off of the Montreal defender, and he's able to get himself space, and Carranza plays an excellent left-footed pass into Daniel Gazdag, who at first I thought Daniel Gazdag took too many touches on this play, but he takes one touch past Camacho, and his second touch he's able to put it in the back of the net. I thought Daniel Gazdag probably should have one-timed this ball, but he knew that he had enough time to take one touch, two touch, and the second touch was a finish. He knew that he had enough time and space to get past Camacho to not blast this ball by any means by Breza. He just picked his corner and everything and was able to find the back of the net. And just again, I talked about the understanding between Carranza and Daniel Gazdag, and you saw it with Kai Wagner playing the ball over the top. We saw it even in preseason against Cincinnati, where Kai Wagner played a long ball over the top to Sergio Santos. Sergio Santos was able to chest the ball down, and Julian was just able to play a great ball into Daniel Gazdag. I mean, 3 minutes after the Philadelphia Union scored their first goal, they scored their second goal. And just to see the athleticism from our forwards this season, where they have the confidence to take a good touch, to not feel under pressure, and take the time to pick out a pass and everything. And I have no clue. Like, again, just watching this goal, seeing Daniel Gaza take one touch against Camacho, I thought it was one too many. He should have one-timed it. But he knew that, okay, I have time to take this touch, just set myself up. And then his second touch is the shot in the bottom corner. It was just a really, really good execution from the Philadelphia Union, with Kai Wagner playing that ball over the top to Julian Carranza for Carranza to chest it down and find an excellent way to pass to Daniel Gazdag to put the Philadelphia Union up 2-1 at this time. And again, those 15 minutes were so crucial for the Philadelphia Union against Montreal, and hopefully we see more of that to come this season. But the last segment I want to get to is Blunder of the Week. And like I told you guys, Blunder of the Week, a lot of times it's a funny segment. It's all jokes and everything. But yeah, this is nothing to joke about. So like I said, I'm sure a lot of you guys know probably by now about the violence that occurred in last night's Liga MX game between Queretaro and Atlas, where this game had to be suspended because Atlas fans and Queretaro fans were fighting in the stands. And eventually the fighting in the stands got so bad, it eventually led to being on the pitch. The videos, the pictures that I saw were shocking, and they're really hard to look at, honestly. I mean, you had fans throwing barriers at opposing fans. You had fans getting beat so bad where they were knocked out unconscious. The authorities said at least 22 people were injured. 9 people required hospital treatment. I know there was reports out there that said 17 people dead, but I haven't seen anything confirmed from the police or from either teams or from Liga MX. But I mean, to see chairs get picked up, to see barriers get picked up, smashing them over people's heads, leaving people unconscious, seeing women and children getting attacked because they wore opposing teams' colors, jerseys. It's really, really sickening. And the reason you saw a lot of fans run to the field was they were running for safety. But the Queretaro fans were chasing the Atlas fans on the field and still attacking them. And apparently there was no police at this game because Queretaro hired private security, which is a little bit suspicious to me. And I know after this all went down, Liga MX games were still going on Saturday, and all the games should have been suspended. I know today on Sunday, all the games for Sunday were postponed, and Liga MX said a full investigation will go ahead. But in my opinion, and it's probably harsh, right? Like, we can go ahead and talk for 40 plus minutes about how we're all happy that the Philadelphia Union beat Montreal. But violence really turns me off of sports, not just soccer, of sports in general. Violence isn't okay in any part of life, especially at a sporting event where you go to be entertained, to just go and have a good time, where you take the sport way too serious, where you decide to attack opposing fans because they're not wearing your team colors, to post videos to say you're proud of knocking people unconscious. What is wrong with you? Like, it's really disheartening. And not only is this a bad look, in my opinion, for Liga MX, it's a bad look for soccer as a whole. And I think not only should the authorities, should the government in Mexico jump in, but I think FIFA needs to jump in here too. And there should be no more fans at the Queretaro matches, in my opinion. I think ban them. Ban them for years. I would even say take it as far as throwing him out of Liga MX, dissolving the club, in my opinion. Because how's the club going to say, yeah, we decline to have police here at the game, we're going to have private security? How's that okay? Because right there, that tells me that something's going to be up. I'm not saying that the club knew that fans were going to go and attack Atlas fans, but to say, yeah, we're going to not hire police for this game, we're just going to have private security. Yeah, that's a red flag for me majorly. And FIFA needs to jump in here. And honestly, like, I wouldn't be okay unless FIFA bans Queretaro for good from any games, because I think that will send a message. And not only will it send a message to every single team in Liga MX, I think that will send a message to every team in the world that, okay, you're going to have fan violence and storm the pitch and attack fans and potentially kill fans. We're going to get rid of your club. And what don't Liga MX owners want? They don't want stoppages, because when there's stoppages, that means that they're not making money. But this should never have happened. Fans should have never have got attacked. This game should have never got out of hand, where people are running onto the field fearing for their lives. And it's a joke for Liga MX. It's a joke for both of these fans to involve in fighting. FIFA needs to come out and do something. The Mexican government needs to do something. They need to find every single fan that was involved in these fights that left people unconscious. If people did indeed die, I mean, hopefully they paid to the fullest extent of the law. I'm not holding my breath. I'm not very confident that will happen. I'm not really confident anything's going to happen, but this is a terrible look for Liga MX. This is a terrible look for soccer as a whole, and it should never happen. It doesn't matter where it is in the world. Fans shouldn't get attacked. There shouldn't be any fighting at sporting events. I get it, your team and you're passionate, but to literally attack somebody until they're unconscious, what goes through your mind? Seriously. It's just a sad day for the soccer world, in my opinion. And not that I have to tell anybody that's listening to this podcast, but man, if you feel like you're going to go to a game and you feel like there's a chance that you might get into a fight, don't go. Don't go to a game. It's not worth it for yourself. It's not worth it for the fans that are going to the game to enjoy themselves. Just don't go. It's just really sickening. And like I said, if you guys haven't seen any of the pictures or videos, don't look them up. They're very, very hard to look at. To see pictures of people bleeding, videos of people bleeding, pictures of people with their clothes taken off. For what reasoning? Why are you taking? It's not good, and I don't want to talk about this anymore because it's making me mad. But if you guys haven't followed the podcast on social media yet, follow on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. And like I said, I will try my best to get somebody on from San Jose to preview this San Jose game. I know I didn't give you guys a preview episode for Montreal. I was going to do a solo episode, but something came up, and that's my apologies for not saying anything on social media to you guys. Like I said, I will try my best to get somebody from San Jose, but hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your weekend. Hopefully you guys have a great week, and I can't wait to see each and every single one of you guys. That would be great in person next week at Subaru Park, but if that can't happen, just hopefully you guys enjoy what's to come with the Philadelphia Union. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.